Hey Voyagers! It's been a while since our last update, and today I'd like to share some of our ups and downs while developing Earthlock 2. At Snowcastle, it's always been our mission to make fun and engaging games for our players. When we finished Earthlock in 2018, we immediately set out to make the sequel, Earthlock 2. At the same time, we made the decision to switch from Unity to Unreal, and that had great ramifications. Originally, the art team was super happy with Unreal, and the coders were a bit more skeptical. But then, after a year, the entire team was on board, and we're looking back. Unreal is an engine that is more expensive to develop in, but it also yields better quality, and we felt it was worth the investment. Game development is an iterative process, and we went through so many changes and iterations in the early years of Earthlock 2. At the same time, I was traveling to various conferences around the world, pitching the game to publishers. And the feedback I got was clear. Nobody wanted to fund a turn-based RPG. I mean, they loved that we switched from Unity to Unreal, but they wanted multiplayer and they wanted real-time combat. And nobody wanted to fund a turn-based RPG. We couldn't afford it on our own. Taking that feedback to heart, we decided to lean into multiplayer. And with that, real-time combat. We looked at Divinity, which had successfully created a multiplayer turn-based RPG, but we still felt like multiplayer and real-time combat jive better together. So that's what we did. On top of that, we were going through growing pains as a team, and the game we were developing just wasn't as fun as it needed to be. In February 2021, we decided to pause and focus on a smaller multiplayer game set on an island, the starting island for Earthlock 2. This allowed us to develop a smaller part of the Earthlock 2 world while reconsidering the vision for the game. That smaller game became Econai Island. Econai Island deserves its own postmortem, but as often happens with game development, it took much longer than anticipated. Meanwhile, we redesigned Earthlock 2 and went through pre-production again in parallel. We also signed a publishing deal that would fully fund Econai Island and Earthlock 2. Unfortunately, in the summer of 2023, that publisher decided to close down the publishing department, and we lost all the funding. At that time, we had grown to 40 people so we could produce Earthlock 2 and Econai Island in parallel. But without the funding, we need to scale down, and we barely managed to get Econai out the door. Around that time, funding in the game industry dried up almost completely, and studios were closing down all over the world. We pitched the game to over 50 publishers and investors, but we couldn't secure the funding. After releasing Econai Island, we knew just how much extra work it is to make a multiplayer game, and we began scoping down Earthlock 2. Eventually, it evolved into something so different from the original Earthlock 2 that we couldn't call it Earthlock 2 anymore. Your feedback also made it clear that we weren't quite meeting your expectations for a sequel to Earthlock. And we took a step back and thought about how we could deliver something truly special for you. Earthlock was always intended to be a trilogy. And with the success of Baldur's Gate 3, funding a turn-based RPG wasn't impossible anymore. We started writing the story for the entire trilogy, and even going back and fixing some of the parts of Earthlock 1, which we felt could be improved. The effort we put in so far won't go to waste. Much of the inspiration, tools, and systems we created for Earthlock 2 has found a new home in a project we're incredibly excited about called Listward. While developing Listward, we're actively trying to raise funds for all 3 games in the trilogy. It's been a challenging journey, but we're committed to delivering the best possible experience for our players. 2025 is going to be a huge year for us, and we're so happy to have you with us on this journey. If you're into survival games, please check out Listward on Steam and wishlist it so you can stay updated. For those of you who are waiting for Earthlock 2, thank you for your patience and support. We're striving to make it worth the wait, and we couldn't do this without you. So thank you so much.